5 weeks ago, I installed a new package of bees, and today I want to inspect the hive. During this hive inspection, I'll have 3 main goals. Firstly, I want to mark the queen, which will help me find her in future inspections, and I'll explain later in the video how it works and all of the benefits. Secondly, I want to tidy up the comb a little bit since I noticed last week that the bees had been drawing some comb out on the bottom of the frames. And lastly, I want to check on if the brood we saw in last week's inspection has hatched yet. So let's jump right in and crack the hive open. I start by removing the lid, and I can immediately see that the bees have consumed all of the sugar water that I gave them. I'll take this out now and replace it with fresh sugar water at the end of the inspection. Next, I'll give the bees some smoke and continue to open up the hive. As usual, I'll begin by removing 2 of the outside frames to make room to work within the hive. These frames are both undeveloped, and I'll just place them on the frame holder, which is attached to the hive stand. I then take out the green drone comb, and it looks like the bees have finally started building on it. If you want to know more about green drone comb and the role it plays in a hive, check out the card in the upper right. Anyways, the comb on this frame looks like it actually was attached to the honey frame next to it, so the bees haven't made any drone cells yet. The other side isn't drawn out yet either, and I'll quickly scan for the queen. She's unlikely to be on this frame since there's nothing for her to do there, so after just a moment of searching, I move on to the next frame. This frame is heavy with nectar and honey on one side. I also see a lot of freshly laid eggs, so the queen might be nearby. Checking the other side, I see that there's a lot of fresh wax, and you can see where the bees had attached it to the green drone comb as well. I take a mental note of this because I'll want to come back later in the inspection and deal with all of this unorganized wax. Then, I spend a few minutes closely looking for the queen, since I really want to find her today so that I can mark her. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see her on this frame, so I'll continue the inspection and move on to the next frame. This next frame is quite a bit lighter as it's not full of honey and nectar, but it's covered with bees, and I see some fresh eggs on this frame as well. I know that we had capped brood on this frame last week, and it looks like it's all hatched now, which is really great for the hive. It definitely does feel like there are a lot more bees in the colony than there were last week too. I don't see any stray comb on this frame, and I spend another few minutes scanning for the queen here too. After a few minutes of fruitless searching, I still don't see her, so I decide to move on to the next frame. This next frame is the one that we had seen wall-to-wall capped brood on last time, and it looks like it's all hatched now, which should be about 3,500 new bees from this frame alone. I can already see new eggs in the now vacant cells, so the queen was recently here. I'm also noticing some extra comb on the bottom of this frame, and I take a mental note for when we come back to clean it up later. The queen could very possibly be on this frame, and I spend more time looking for her. But unfortunately, I still can't see her, so I'll continue to look on the next frame. At this point, I realize that I've clumsily smashed a couple of bees, so I bring out the smoker to help cover up the bee's alarm pheromone. When a bee is crushed, they release an alarm pheromone, which puts the rest of the bees on high alert. But you can interfere with the signal by using smoke, which makes it hard for the bees to detect the pheromone. I decide to smoke my gloves as well to be on the safe side. With that out of the way, I can now inspect the next frame, and the first thing I notice is that there's extra comb built on the bottom of this frame as well. I make a mental note of it, and I continue to look for the queen. This frame is actually mostly larvae and capped over brood. I don't see any eggs or vacant cells, so it's unlikely that the queen is here. Nonetheless, I give it a scan. I don't spot the queen, as expected on this frame, so I'll move on to the next one. This next frame also has a lot of capped brood, and it doesn't seem like a good candidate for where the queen might be hiding. On the other side, I noticed a chunk of wax that was drawn out and had connected with the neighboring frame. I'll need to remove this when I clean up the frames later too, but for now, I'll put this frame back. There's only one more developed frame to look at now, so I really hope the queen is there. But before I pull it out to look, I give the bees a bit more smoke since they're starting to lose patience with me. After some smoke, I pull out the next frame, and I'm really hoping to find the queen here. The frame only has one side developed, and it's mostly honey, so it looks like I'm out of luck, and I'll need to take a second pass to find her. I go back to the beginning of the hive, and I thoroughly search each frame, scanning every bee. I made it almost all the way back through the hive, and when I came back to the frame with the comb that was sticking way out at the bottom, I decided I might as well start working on cleaning the hive up, since I might not be finding the queen today after all. I removed the extra wax, and then, just when I had given up hope, I spotted the queen. I'll give you a moment to try and find her yourself. Now that I've found the queen, I'm ready to try and catch and mark her. Marking your queen means painting her thorax a specific color, and this has multiple benefits. Firstly, it should make it much easier to find the queen in future inspections. Secondly, it will make it easier to tell if the queen has been replaced by the bees. And lastly, it will make it easier to remember the age of the queen. This is a result of a clever color scheme that has been standardized throughout the beekeeping community. You can remember the colors through this simple mnemonic. Wow, you raise great bees, which stands for white, yellow, red, green, blue. And this pattern repeats every 5 years. So any queen born in a year ending in 1 or 6 would get white, a year ending in 2 or 7 would get yellow, and a year ending in 3, such as 2023, would get red. I'll use this device to capture and restrain the queen. Once she's inside, I can slide the sponge up and pin her against the top so that she can't move, and I can safely mark her without hurting her. It takes me a few tries chasing her around the frame, but eventually I'm able to get her into the marking vessel. Now that I've captured the queen, I'll prepare to mark her using this red paint pen. I also brought a piece of scrap wood to blot the pen on, so that I can be very precise when marking her. If I accidentally painted the wrong part of her body, she would definitely die. I'll start by shaking up the paint pen to mix the paint thoroughly. Next, I'll tap the cage to knock the queen onto the sponge and raise it to pin her. I'm being extremely gentle here, as I don't want to hurt her, I only want to immobilize her. I dab off the pen and then quickly and carefully mark her thorax, which is the black part right behind her head. You can see her there, now marked with red paint, and I'll keep her isolated for another minute while the paint dries so that she doesn't get it on any other bees. And now that we've successfully marked the queen, I'll release her back onto the frame and place the frame back into the hive. I'm feeling really relieved at this point, and I'm almost ready to wrap up this hive inspection. But first, I want to clean up some of these frames, so I'll quickly pull out each frame that had wax built on the bottom and scrape it off. I'll then just smash this wax onto one of the undeveloped frames, since I know from experimenting last week that the bees will use this wax to build some nice comb. Now I'm ready to reassemble the hive and give the bees a much needed break. After putting the feeder board back on, I got a fresh jar of sugar water for the bees. I think it's good to give them the option to use it, since I know they won't take it if there's a good nectar flow, and I want to build the hive as quickly as possible. If you enjoyed this video, or you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, or leaving a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.